Welcome everyone once again. It's 2 o'clock. We will start it sharp now. So today's webinar is planned for Castin channel. To be honest, we have been planning about doing this webinar quite some time now. We have launched Castin channels earlier this year, and we already have been working in several projects in the Middle East. So this is something which we were long expecting. So without further delay, we will start. So just for an uninterrupted experience, try to use Google Chrome or Firefox. We have seen in the past that there were some interruptions in Internet Explorer, so it's better you can use either of these browsers. Try to not do any downloads during the webinar because it is a streaming session. So if you have any downloads running, it might affect the quality of presentation. Another important thing is, as you can see on the right side of your screen, there is chat window and there is questions window. So we have a very big crowd now. We don't want your questions to be lost during the chats what we make. So please make sure that you post all your questions on the questions tab, as you can see on the screen highlighted, so that we don't want to miss any of your questions. All your questions would be answered by the end of the session, and we would also send you replies by email after the session is over. The duration is webinar would be for 45 minutes from 2 p.m. till 2:45 p.m., followed by question and answers. We would have an interaction for 10 minutes. And then we also require your poll and feedback, which would take less than 5 minutes. So we hope to end the session by 3 p.m. Now I would like to introduce my colleague, Emil Bloom. He is working as International Product Manager for Castin Channels. He has been associated with Fischer for almost like more than 6 years now. So he has worked in several departments within Fischer. He was also in Middle East. He was working as senior field engineer in Dubai. So he would take over the presentation and he would discuss with you. He would carry on the presentation. Welcome, Emil. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Tino. Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome also from my side. And since there's many colleagues in the UAE, also salam alaikum. And today we will speak about castin. As you have heard, we have launched castin recently, and we will speak firstly about what is castin, what are the benefits of using castin, then some product information about our products. We will speak about our ETA certification. Then we will speak about the software channel fix, and then of course we will have the Q&A session where you can write any questions you have and we will try to answer them, and then of course a feedback also. So what is castin and what are the benefits of using castin system? First, I'm sure you know many different kind of fixing systems in concrete. You have experience. So there's of course pre-installed system fixing. Then there's also post-installed fixing. So for the pre-installed, we have castin. For example, you can see here a castin channel on the picture. And then obviously for the post-installed, we have chemical or capsule anchors. We have mechanical anchors or anchor bolts or through bolts, however you want to call them. And then we also have direct fastening, also referred to as shooting. So now this webinar will of course mainly focus on the pre-installed system castin. First, we will touch the brief definition of a castin channel, and as per the standard or the code, a castin channel is a steel profile, as you can see in the picture on the right side, also with rigidly connected anchors, and these are installed into the concrete prior to concreting. There should be 2 or more steel anchors on the back of the channel, otherwise it's not a castin channel. Of course, this whole system now is referred as a complete fastening system, and also there's channel bolts coming with it, and with these channel bolts, it's one system. Then, of course, this has to be placed prior to concreting and can comparably to post-installed anchors withstand greater loads because it has been placed into the concrete prior and not installed with drilling or any weakening of the concrete afterwards. Just to speak about the terminology also, so you can see here the anchor of the channel. I think it's pretty clear, and the channel itself. Then of course we have the connection between channel and anchor. Sometimes this is also an important point of discussion. Then we have the channel lips. You can see here the lips of the channel, which will also be needed for further explanations. And then of course we have the channel bolt. This is oftentimes referred to as T bolt because the shape of the bolt is similar to the letter T. Now I want to speak briefly about a very often asked question between hot rolled and cold formed channel. Just to give you a brief idea, I'm sure we are all engineers, so we all know that if you hot roll any steel, that the temperature will be elevated in this time, and then due to the elevated temperature, we will remove the residual cracks and stresses in the steel, and we can achieve actual better mechanical properties. Also, because of the high temperature, it allows us to do this, which you can see here. There's a thickened lip, and this thickened lip also leads to greater bearing capacity of the profile itself. Whereas we also have the cold form sections where the steel is not raised in any kind of temperature, so it's just basically a bent piece of metal. And of course, when you bend a steel, there's always some stress left inside the steel, and this stress and also the fact that you cannot thicken the lip leads to an overall smaller capacity. But obviously, the cold formed sections are a little bit lower in production cost than the hot rolled sections. But these have the better performance in general. Now, the main question is, why should you use cast-in channel systems? Well, there's a lot. Actually, nowadays, in the Middle East, especially, the level of prefabrication is getting higher and higher. They're even trying to fabricate whole units of buildings or certain rooms outside of the site, and then they will only be carried to the site, and then on site, they will be actually installed. Also, there's different extreme application conditions. So for example, we have the application condition of dense reinforcement. We have thin slabs. The slabs are getting thinner and thinner. And also we have very high strength concrete. So C70 or C80 is nothing unusual anymore nowadays. Then, of course, a very important point is that you don't damage the existing structures. So we all know that drilling is often not allowed. Either it's due to risking cutting of the rebar, or you have also some post-tension or pre-tensioned kind of slab where you can cut the strands. So because of this, there's no drilling allowed. And even if drilling is allowed, then we have discussed that there's high strength concrete or very dense reinforcement. So drilling is not a nice thing to do. The installation of the channel after it is already concreted is very simple and easy. So you only need basically a torque wrench, and then you can fix your T-bolts and your bracket, whatever it might be, a facade bracket or a cantilever for MEP support. You can fix it with a simple torque wrench only. Another thing which I think is quite a big topic getting more and more into the market in the Middle East, especially, is Revit or BIM, is building information modeling. So we are planning the projects much more in advance than we did 20 years ago. And because of this, we can also plan the details much better. And of course, if you can plan exactly where do you need your anchors, where you need to fix something, where you have these fixing locations, then why would you not plan it and not put cast in channels into this location, except like it's much better to do so than afterwards you need to drill or you need to core again and destroy what you've already built. So obviously we have a big advantage here using these new technologies to help us plan and improve better. And then also there's health, safety, and environmental regulations. These heavily depend based on the countries, but in some countries or some regulations on some sites nowadays, there has to be noise free or noise reduced. So again, drilling is not allowed. And there's even some countries where the job site has to be dust free. So there's no, it's not allowed to blow out the dust from the drill hole. As we all know, this is required for post-installed anchors of any kind. So this is a big no-go, and here cast in has its benefits. I just want to show you some typical applications for cast-in anchor channels. I'm sure you know most of them by yourself. Just to give you a brief overview, we can go into the facade. There's many facade engineers in this webinar today. So of course we can fix it in the curtain wall or for balustrade fixing of various kinds. Then we can also use it for elevator fixings, because in the elevator you have this main rail which has to be fixed. So here cast in also gives a great opportunity. We can also use it for various types of MEP or firefighting support, whether it's HVAC or cable trays or any piping, plumbing, whatsoever. It can also be used if it's prior installed into the concrete. Then, of course, we have bigger projects like plants and power plants, not so common. I'm not sure if there's anyone here who is building these kinds of, having these kinds of projects. Then, of course, we have metro. So we have the metro and the rail, where it can be used for the supply lines, for the signal, the systems, for the evacuation platforms, for the catwalks, whatsoever. We can use cast-in channel also. And then last but not least, of course, we have utility tunnels, where it's again similar to the MEP and firefighting applications, but also in the tunnels, you will use the walls of the tunnels. So because a tunnel is mostly precast, this is again a big advantage of using cast-in. You don't need to drill in high reinforced, high strength concrete afterwards. Just some more insight on typical applications of the cast-in products for facade or for any MEP. So we can see on the left, the top of slab application. This is very common. A bracket or similar to this would be fixed with cast-in. And then, of course, front of slab application, also for a facade where you want to fix a mullion, or then post like bottom of slab application, also where you fix a channel on the bottom of the scaffolding of the formwork, and then you will hang something from the ceiling. Now you can see here in this left picture, there's a big advantage of actually using cast-in. Since cast-in is a channel, you have already the possibility to adjust. So you know when you drill, after you drilled or you install the anchor is fixed in the position. You cannot move the anchor. If you have to move it, you need to cut the anchor, remove it, and put a second anchor, which is quite messy and it takes a lot of time and effort. But here you can just slide the channel bolts where you need them. And then the other axis you can just cover within the bracket, and then you have covered all three axes, because the height, of course, is adjustable by the cast-in channel as well. So yes, we just made a brief overview again to go more into detail about this, all the benefits at a glance. So the first benefit which we have discussed is of course no drilling required, so you don't make any noise or no dust, no vibration for the building and no damage to the building as well. It's very easy installation. So easy installation is always good. Why? Because for you as a project manager, as an engineer, it saves you time and money and also headache. You don't need to worry about a complicated product installation. Then there's no damage to reinforcement or the pre-stressing strengths. This, of course, increases the overall safety of the building or of the project. Then we have the 2D adjustability, as I just discussed. You can move along the channel axis and you can cover site tolerances. Then we have a surface flush assembly is possible. So if you need to remove the fixing for any reason, you can just uninstall the bracket, take out the T-bolts, and then you have a channel flush to the surface. This gives high flexibility. And then of course, there's also easy and visual inspection is possible. You just can see basically by looking at the product if it has been installed properly or not. Whereas we know for the anchors, you don't know what is happening inside the drill hole, or has it been cleaned or has it not been cleaned whatsoever. Again, I'm not saying that post-installed anchors don't have any reason to be there. You can of course still use them, but there is also a lot of benefit for cast-in systems. Now I would go into some product information and naming logic. I don't want to go into too much detail, just give you a brief overview what is Fischer offering and how can you as a customer also understand what is behind all these cryptic letters for the Fischer product. So the Fischer portfolio, FES-H, it is called, we will come later to why it is called like this, has basically 5 different sizes here. You can see it's basically two very small sizes, and then some other few bigger sizes. And the one thing you notice, there's the letter S here and here. So this S, of course, it stands for something. It stands for serrated. So you know that, for example, the 41 by 41 slotted U channels for MEP or different applications, they always have a serration. So these two channels also have a similar, or even, let's say, even much better on higher serrations. So these channels are called FES-H, and the H here stands for hot rolled. So it's very clear for you as a customer or a specifier, engineer, whatever your job might be, to understand, okay, this product is hot rolled. I know I'm getting a high quality hot rolled product. Then, of course, we have also options with eye anchor. You can see here 3 further options, and these options are just this is a product mainly used in the rail business because the eye anchor gives a higher loading capacity. This is just a piece of the I-beam basically welded to the backside of the channel, and through this we achieve higher loading capacity. This is not so commonly used in facade applications, more in railing or other kind of tubing applications. Then also we have, of course, a cold formed portfolio. As you can see here, there's also 5 different sizes. Yeah, small and big, of course, in different lengths and different shapes. And of course, always the numbers identify exactly what kind of size we are talking about. So for example, 54 is always the width of the channel and 33 is the height. But we will come to this in a second. Now, since we have this portfolio of 10 different kinds of channels, I can guarantee to you that we can cover 90%, or maybe it would be even more, 95 or 99 of all of your applications. So if you have any application where you want to use cast and anchor channels, you can contact your local dealer or Fischer support or engineer, whoever is your contact person, and I'm sure we can find a solution for your problem. How can we find this? We, of course, have ETA certificate for all of our channel sizes for the hot roll segment, as you can see here. The fire approval for 120 minutes is already under process. We are doing the testing just in the next couple of weeks, so we expect the results by the end of August this year. We have a serration for these two sizes, so you can also transfer lateral load into the third loading directions. And then we have various types of channel bolts in different diameters, as you can see. And also the coating is hot dip galvanized 50 microns for the full range. Additional to this, we also have the cold formed portfolio as shown. Again, you can see that we have the 5 different sizes. The ETA is currently under process. I'm expecting it actually to get it in the next 2 weeks maximum. So we will also close this topic and then also have the ETA for the FES-C range, and the fire approval goes hand in hand with the other fire approval. So this will also follow in August. Additionally, we also have different various channel bolts and of course the same hot dip galvanizing for you as well. Now let's go a little bit more deeper, not too deep. What is behind a product name like this and what does this all stand for? So just for you, FES stands basically for Fischer Einlegeschiene, is nothing else than Fischer casting channel in German. We could not choose Fischer anchor channel for any given reason. If you combine these 3 letters, you might understand. Then we have a clear naming here for cold formed or hot rolled, so it's clear to anyone what kind of product he's getting. Then we have a special letter S if it's applicable, if it's a rated channel, so that we know, okay, this channel can also transfer load along the channel axis or not. Then we have the option of an eye anchor if it's applicable. If not, if it's a round anchor, there's no letters. And then of course we have also very clearly mentioned the width and the height of the channel section. So by just looking at any LPO, any specification, any design, you will automatically see what kind of product we're talking about. And then also with the length and then the coating, which is hot dip, as I mentioned before, always a minimum of 50 microns. And then for some special applications, I'm not quite sure if any of you will ever face these, but it also requires bend channels because you need, for example, for tubing in a metro tunnel or in a rail tunnel, you have it around tubing, you want to bend the channel, then we can also give you the bending radius. Or if you ever have an architectural, highly important architectural building where you have a round or pillar or something and you want to bend the channel, then we also have these options for you. It's not limited to the rail application, of course. Yeah, then just to give you a few examples, I'm sure that most of you would understand these now automatically because it's so clear. So you see here, for example, 4930, 300, we know it's cold formed, the width, the height, and the length itself. I just wanted to include this slide because there will be also a recording of the webinar. So then later on, if you have even any doubt, you can just watch it. Yes. And then of course here on the bottom something more complicated, which would not be this typical. Just if you have a special number of eye anchors, then you would also mention the number and you would mention the arc length and the radius if it is bent whatsoever. Just to give you an idea also of how we do things. Then, of course, a very important topic is the channel bolts, because we have said in the beginning that it's a system, so you need to have the channel and the channel bolt as well, and you should not mix them, or you can actually not mix them with any other supplier. I don't recommend you to do this at all, because they will not be compatible, or to most, most degree they will not be compatible, and you will also lose any kind of quality or certification whatsoever. So of course we have the standard channel bolts. They are just a flush channel bolt, as you can see here in the picture. They fit inside the channel, so there's no serration. They're just flat, and their channel bolts of us are always 8.8 in steel grade. So we don't have 5.8, we have only 8.8. And then very important for this channel bolt that you have also one groove on the top, so you can always recognize it after installation. You just look in the installed product, you see, okay, one groove means that it is actually a plain channel bolt. And you can see here also mentioned two directional load capacity, which of course one is tension and the second one then is shear towards perpendicular to the channel. Then we have also a notched channel bolt, or also notching channel bolt, because the channel bolt here has a notch, and this notch is being pulled into the channel while installing. So you can see here that the channel bolt is actually, it went inside of the channel, and it pulled itself into the channel material, and this gives the benefit that now you can also transfer load in the third direction of the channel along the channel axis. Of course, this load is not the highest, but you have this option. It's again 8.8, and you can distinguish it because it has two grooves on the top. Now we have also the third option, which is of course the serrated channel bolt. I'm sure all of you could have guessed that by now, because we've spoken about the serrated channels. So these only fit with these serrated channel bolts. You should not mix, or you cannot mix any of these wrong. And you can see here that these channel bolt can also transfer the load in 3 directions, and also of course can transfer a much higher load capacity in this third direction, because the serration of course gives much more force or mechanical interlocking with the teeth. Also easy distinguishable here with this staggered groove on top, to see after installation also what kind of products we are talking about. Yeah, just again, if you get any material on site, or you want to do any design or specify what kind of channel bolt you need, it also goes hand in hand. So FBC stands for Fischer bolt channel. It's not for Bayern Munich, even though it's quite close. Then we have, of course, S or N. So the S is for the serrated if it's applicable. The N is for the notched or notching if it's applicable. If there's no letter, it means it's just plain or flush. Then we have the fits to the channel. So we have the 50-30. So we know that 50-30 fits to a different, or to certain kind of channels actually. Then we have the metric diameter, of course, let's say M10, for example, into, and then the length. So M10 by 120. And then at the end, it's always the steel grade, which at the moment we only have 8.8. And then hot dip galvanized, of course. Now the coating, yes, is 50 microns. Now we have spoken about how it is, the logic behind it, just to give you some small examples also. So here, for example, we can clearly see it's S for serrated, then it is applicable for 3823 because of the size, which M12 into 60 is the length of the thread, not the full length of the bolt, but only the length of the thread. And then hot dip galvanized 50 microns. So these T-bolts with serrations, it's very important that they only fit one certain profile. So you need to keep in mind that this bolt will only fit to 3823 profile because it's serrated, not to anything else. Then there's also the option that for the FBC, we have a 50-30. For example, there's no N or no S, so it means it's just a plain channel bolt. Again, I'm 16 into 100. I don't want to repeat myself too much. And then again, we have also a notched option here, which will allow a third load direction as well. But one thing which is which should also keep in mind is that some T-bolts might be used, like this T-bolt is 50-30. You can use it for 4 different profiles, but the notching one you can only use for 2 different profiles. Why? Because the notching T-bolts are only allowed for the hot rolled sections. Now, maybe this is a little bit confusing in the beginning, but of course, your technical support, your local support, sales, whoever you have as a contact in Fischer will be lucky or happy to help you. So if you have any doubt at any point of time, please just give him a call or send him an email, and we will help you out and come to your site and visit your project and figure out the most efficient way or the best perfect product for your demands. Yeah. Yes, now this is saying that we come also to this point. So if you feel like you need to have a training at your site or for your team, for your engineers, whatsoever, please just type in train me in the chat window, and then the colleagues from the marketing department will make a list afterwards, and then we will contact you afterwards, and we will try to find the time slot with you to make a training for your engineering team, whether it's a face-to-face or maybe now because of the current situation, we will do a separate webinar or web training for your people. So please go ahead and just type train me in the chat window if you're interested in such a training. Thank you. Speaking about project reference, in the beginning, Tino has said that castin is quite a new product range for us in the Middle East. We have it all introduced this year, but we have already had the chance to get some project references. And today I wanted to introduce to you one of these references to you. It's the Dubai Hills Real Estate. I'm sure all of you know DHM or DH Real Estate. This project is somewhere inside this estate. I don't want to mention it exactly, just to keep the contractor and whatever safe. So we had the first successful installation of the Fischer FES-H. So it was a hot rolled cast and anchor channel. And you can see here on site, of course, everyone is wearing the mask, following all the health and safety measurements, having the helmet on whatsoever, and checking the quality of our channels. Here's some more picture, our Fischer staff explaining to the contractor all the benefits of the system. Maybe they just talk about the weather, I am not so sure. And then also some pictures of the installation. So you can see here into this precasting formwork, they placed actually the channels on the bottom. You can see it here. And then of course I have some more pictures, more close-up pictures. You can see here clearly how our Fischer channel is fixed to the reinforcement and placed, for example, here in a bottom of slab application. So this channel is on the bottom of the slab, so we call it bottom of slab application. And I hope that, of course, from your side, we will get many more such pictures to follow to make you happy with your demands in casting anchor channels. Yeah, now let's speak about the ETA. I'm sure all of you know ETA stands for European Technical Assessment, and it's a very important document in the world of anchors or fixing systems, because any consultant will always ask for ETA certified product. So what do we have? We have this current ETA, as you can see it here on the picture. It was released last year in August, and currently included into this ETA is all the hot rolled sections. And the cold rolled sections, as I said, are still with the DIBT. We expect them to get them within the next 2 weeks at latest. However, we can also do a preliminary design if it's required based on technical values. Of course, this design will not be yet ETA certified, but just to give you an idea, we have the values already. And then afterwards, after we get the ETA, we can validate and stamp the design as an ETA design as well. So just a preliminary option for you. Now, what is the highlight of these this ETA? So the design is according to the newest codes and standards. In this case, this is EN 1992-4, which is the design of fastening for use in concrete in the Eurocode. You can see a picture on the right, or you can also design as per technical report 47. These two reports are of course mandatory to be followed, but also Fischer has a re-owned expertise of more than 50 years of fixing into concrete and various building materials. So we can of course also combine our knowledge from anchors and also transfer it to the casting anchor channel as well. The ETA assessment is issued by the DIBT in Germany, and of course with the ETA comes the CE marking as well. And then also, as I have teased, we will have the fire resistance report. It's currently under preparation, and it will also be included into the ETA at a later point, so then you have maximum safety. So you know that this product is ETA certified also, and also we have a fire resistance report within the ETA for the same product. Now we want to speak about the load comparison. Also, it's always good to give you a small insight of how good are we against some other products in the market, because we've just recently introduced this. So yeah, I just made a small comparison of comparing some of the key values. So one of the key values would be here the failure of the channel lips, as you can see here in these two graphics, what we're actually comparing. Then there is of course competitor 1, 2, and 3. I don't want to mention any names, and I will not. So please don't even try asking. And then of course there's Fischer. So you can see that in this type of failure mode for the hot roll sections, we are basically on the same level or even better than some of the competitors. So with a new product, with a new ETA, we have managed to get on the top level in the world on the performance, to also provide you our well-known quality and support you in your projects. Then we have, for the same channel sizes, also a comparison of the shear load values. Here even we managed to get a better performance of the shear load values with our channels. So you can see here clearly there's a slight advantage, or even a bigger advantage, for different sizes in shear loading capacity. Of course, these values don't take into effect of any edge distance. So if there's concrete edge failure happening, then these values are not governing. This is just plain comparing the values from the ETA. Also, I compare the cold form sections, as you can see here, with the market, and we see that we have an overall equal performance compared to the market standard. So we can also provide you any state-of-the-art design for your project as it is required. Same goes for the shear load value. Not much, not a lot to see here, because again, all the values are really on the same load level, so you can trust on our system. Yeah, and then there's also some products in the market who have a different kind of naming as far as the channel geometry. So they don't clearly state what is the size of their channel like we do. For example, 50 by 30 means it is 50 in width and 30 by height. So I also had some people say the sound is gone. I'm not sure. I will still continue. Tino, the sound is gone.
I can hear you well. Sound
Okay.
is fine.
So it's, yeah, because some people say sound is okay. Sorry for the interruption. So the sound apparently is still working, which is quite good. Um, yeah. So some channel sizes are not as easily comparable because their channel metrics is not quite clear mentioned. So we have tried to also compare this. I'm sure some of you might have guessed by now what kind of channels I'm talking about here. So you can see also that Fischer Red is having a very good performance compared to these other channel sizes. And thank you everyone for giving me the feedback that the sound is clear. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Yeah. So you can see here that the Fischer product range for the hot roll channels for the FES-H also has a, how can I say, even a much better performance than some of the established products in the market. So indeed, if you have any design for any upcoming projects and where you just want to check whether we are more economical and can provide a good solution to you, please feel free to contact your local team, or you can even contact me, anyone, and we will give you also a design and a check what we can do for you, for your project, for any good solution, what we can offer. Again, the same thing we have did for the shear comparison. Then also here you can see that our values are comparable, or sometimes even much better than what what is in the market. I don't want to bash anyone. I just wanted to show you these comparisons to give you also a trust in our cast and anchor systems, because I know that it's a new business for us, but we have managed to deliver a high quality, high load performing product, which is also ETA certified. So please, you should feel safe about it. Yes, and then of course we have a topic, channel fix. I'm sure that you know that design for any anchor, or for most anchors, fix connections is nowadays required for almost any projects. The consultants, if some of them are here, they will always ask you, I need a design for this, I need design for that. So we have created also another state-of-the-art design software. For those of you who know our experience software, which I'm sure is most of you, this is how it looks like when you open it. Under country setting, United Arab Emirates, and then recently we have added here this option, channel fix. Yeah, and once you click channel fix, of course, what you will see is this screen. This is just a sneak peek preview into channel fix. We will not talk in detail about the software itself today. We will schedule a separate session, and we will also invite all of you. It will just be about the software, because of course we cannot manage to talk about the product and the software within 1 hour itself. So just some more insight into the software. You can see here we have different kind of plates. I think mostly it will be different kind of facade applications calculated. So of course we have the most common L-shaped plate up or down, or also we have a P-shape bracket, pie-shape bracket. As you can see here, you can also do a front of slab design. So really you can cover most basic applications which will be there in your day-to-day business with the software. And then of course you can use it as you're using CFix or any other Fischer software. And also your Fischer engineers will be willing to help you and support you and doing designs for you, or give you some tips using the software at your demand. Of course, in Fischer, it would not be a software if there is not a fully detailed design report. So we have chosen also for channel fix to do it in the same manner as for CFix, to implement actually every single formula which is there in the code, so that you, the responsible engineer or consultant, whoever wants, he can actually go into detail and check what are we doing. We're not hiding anything, so everything is clear to you and to anyone to see actually what is the math behind our design. I just showed three slides. Of course, the report itself is much bigger. Yes, and then just to summarize this technical support or channel fix topic, I would say that you can design, of course, with channel fix all the different available anchor channel sizes, which we have spoken about, in all the various lengths. You can design these according to the newest standard, which is the Eurocode 1992-4. And we have a huge technical team which can give you on-site support in almost every country on the world, like every country who is here today in this webinar in the world. We provide also pull-out tests on site. So if you want to check if the quality of the products, we can do that afterwards, or if the consultant has to check for any reason, we can provide this service to you as well. Then, of course, we can provide design support to you. We can advise you how you should maybe do it to get a more optimal and more economical solution. Because I'm sure you, as an engineer and a project engineer, project manager, you have so many topics on your table that, yeah, without trying to, like, it's not easy to know everything about anchors or casting anchor systems. So we can also give you some advice here and take this load from your shoulders and support you. And then, of course, as discussed, we can do a seminar or webinar for your engineering team as well if it's required and desired. Yeah. And then last but not least, of course, about our regional presence in the Middle East. So you can see here a map of the Middle East, and I'm not sure about Kashmir here in this map. I don't want to get into any political discussions. I'm sorry. Please don't mind if it's not properly colored. But you can see here we cover basically a full Middle East with partners and sales offices in all of the different countries, and we also have our headquarter, our GCC headquarter, Middle East headquarter, with the Fisher Academy based in Dubai. And from there also we keep a stock of cast-in of the most common sizes. And if we know about your projects, know about your requirement, we will be willing to stock more of the required sizes in Dubai, just to ensure that you also get enough material on site. Yes. And then I would say that now it's time for questions and answer. I've seen that some of you have sent some questions, and now we will answer them. And if you have any more questions at a later point of time, or if we're not able to finish all the questions, as we said in the beginning, we will answer them in writing in Excel by email, and then we will share this email with every one of the participants so that you can also read and see what other people have answered. Yeah. Now I will check for the questions. And the first question is, how is alignment? The first question is, how is alignment accuracy ensured during installation of the channel? Is there allowance for post-adjusting in case of installation inaccuracies? Well, the thing is that after you have installed the cast-in channels, you cannot really adjust the channel itself afterwards because it's already fixed in the concrete. And how the alignment is ensured during installation, you would have to nail the cast-in channel onto the formwork or fix it to the formwork in any manner. We did not go into these details today because I think this would be more scope of the actual the foreman of who is doing the concreting or the formwork of the main contractor job. But after you have to fix it in location, of course, rigidly, so that during concreting and during also vibrating the concrete, it's not actually moving. And then afterwards, you can adjust inaccuracies. Yeah, it has to be flush with the surface of the concrete. So this is the main topic. Yeah. Do you have three-dimensional load approval on your ETA? If yes, for which sections? So yes, we have three-dimensional load approvals on our ETA. This is for the section FES-H S2920, and also for the section 3823. I will just show it to you also. Not answer both at the same time. Yep. So you can see here these two sections are basically for third dimensional load the direction. Then the next question about installation, how to ensure a right installation of channel at site. Yeah, basically, as I've said previously, you have to manage to fix the channel rigidly to the formwork, whether it's to the side or to the bottom or on the top with a kind of cantilever. And then after concreting, the channel will be in the right location. But we also have a method statement of installation and how the channel should be installed. It's also inside the ETA, and I will also share this method statement or this installation instruction with all of you through the marketing. They will share it with you, so you can have a look into our recommendations. Fischer. Fischer channels are designed to be used in the top surface of metal deck floors. Fischer channels assemblies allow channel inserts to be easily positioned so that they're flush with the surface of the concrete and maintain a correct edge distance. This is for for a com floor or for metal deck floors. We would have to check case by case, but for sure you can also install them on the top of the com floor, and you can also fix them to the formwork. So I'm not really getting these questions, but maybe we can have a talk later also in detail. Do you have contact in Iraq? I'm not quite sure. I would have to check, but we will come back to you. I will investigate this. Then there's some more questions about installation. Do you have any applicator who can install it? I suppose spend a load. If the suspended load have vibration in its life cycle, what about the cracks or waterproofing bounding with surrounding of coastal area? So the first question is regarding the vibration or how we say fatigue load. This depends on the application. Yes, there is some applications where fatigue loading is a topic. There can be testing done for these kind of applications, but at the moment we don't have any test reports who show fatigue loading. But I want to say that in some cases, as the consultant asking for these kind of tests, like for example for a fatigue loading test, but the whole system which you're fixing, the whole facade itself is not designed for such a load case. So it should also be depending on the system, if the full system is designed for such a case or not. And then about cracks or waterproofing, there's no waterproofing for the channels as such, but I don't think that, I mean, what the water will not go inside the concrete into like in a big manner, because otherwise the concrete is not tight enough. And of course area, the surroundings of casting area. Yeah. So there's no special waterproofing, but we don't like. I have never heard of facing this issue, but I will check also, and I will come back to you by writing. This is a funny question. It's very similar to Halfen naming. What's the difference of Fischer? Yeah, Fischer is Fischer, and the other brands are other brands. And then, of course, product-wise, we have shown the comparison, and we can also meet you and give you a one-to-one comparison and answer all your questions. What is the acceptable crack width limit for use of cast-in channels in the tension zones of slabs? So for cast-in channels in cracked concrete, it is also the same as for cracked concrete anchors, and that there will be the crack limit should be 0.3 millimeter, and the testing is done in 0.35 and 0.5 millimeter crack width. What is the effect of the bracket slotted hole on the T-bolt and cast-in analysis? I'm not quite sure what you mean, but the benefit of using slotted holes in the bracket, of course, is that you're able to cover the tolerances of site or the site tolerances. and you will just calculate the casting channel without any slots. And then, of course, you need to design the bracket in such a way that the load will be transferred one-to-one onto the channel bolt, and there will be no sliding happening in the slot itself. I think it should be clear. If not, please let me know. Is there any serrated channels in I-anchor performance? Is your cast make any impact in civil structure? Will it be included into the civil structure design? No, the casting channel does not have any impact on the structure itself, in terms of that the steel is, how can I say, weakening the concrete. However, of course, you have to also include the loads into your civil structure design, but this is the same for any kind of fixing. So I think you're pretty much doing this based on area loading anyways. So there's nothing special to consider which I'm aware about. How can we put it in the metro curve? So in the metro curve, usually the metro curve is made from tubings, and these tubings are precast in some factory or in front of the tunnel itself. And then, as I have shown some pictures, you can just simply bend the channel, and then you can also fix it into these tubing formwork, and then you can cast it, and then it's basically inside the tubing, and then you can transfer it to the metro or to the tunnel itself. Yeah, how about equipotential? There's some questions which I really not sure how to answer or what it means. So we will get in contact with you and clarify all these questions. If it's required to, There's one more. If it's required to do proof testing on site, if yes, what is the required ratio? Well, I think this question is best to be answered by the site quality inspector or by the consultant himself. In my opinion, it's not required. The ETA does enough testing. So as long as you install the product as specified by us inside the ETA, then no testing is required. But I know that in some sites or in some countries whatsoever it's required, so it's case by case. There's no general requirement list which I am aware of. Length availability. So we have lengths from 150 millimeters up till 6 meter, or it's actually 6 meter and 70 millimeter. And there's different variable lengths within that. For example, like 1 meter, 3 meter, 6 meter, and then of course shorter pieces. Yeah, but we can also do customized length if there's a huge quantity requirement or a big project, that we can also do a customized length for you, but not longer than 6 meter, of course. Yeah, that is also a good question. Fischer channels are produced in Germany. No, they're not produced in Germany. Fischer casting channel is fully produced in our own production facility in China, and they're also shipped from there to Dubai or to any other country who has ordered them. Why we use channels in place of I think this question has to be also addressed case by case, because there might be cases where embed plates might be more practical or better. But in general, I would say casting channels gives you the advantage that you don't need to weld on site, so you can just fix the connection by bolting. And also that you can remove it or adjust it within the process, because once you have welded to embed plates, then the connection is fixed, and there's no way that you can redo it or adjust it afterwards. That's the main benefit, I would say. Yeah, the casting channels can also be cut on site. However, there's two conditions for this. The first condition is that when you cut the casting channels, you have to reproduce pieces which are also included into the ETA. So there's certain spacings between the anchors, or also the end distance is defined. And when you're cutting, you have to make sure that you're only producing pieces while cutting which fit to these requirements. This is one. And the second one, of course, is that when you cut, that this area is not galvanized anymore. So it's your responsibility to provide corrosion protection to the cutting zone. Yeah. You're shown installed horizontal. That is also a very good question. You've shown the channels installed horizontally. It is possible to install them vertically, for example, in shear walls. Can they be loaded in that direction? Yes, you can also install them vertical, so from top down along a wall, for example, and you can also load them in this direction of the gravity if you use these two channel sizes shown in the presentation. So this S2920 or S3823, because here you can also cover the longitudinal direction of the channels. So here you can also do that, definitely. And then we will take the last question now, and then all the further questions we will answer by email. As mentioned, casting channels are produced in China. How about other ME? Yeah, okay. Yes, they are produced in China in our own production facility. And how about other MEP support channels? 41 by 41 or 41 by 21. We don't have cast in 41 by 41 or 21 yet. But of course, we can also give you a combination of our casting channels together with our 41 by 41 channels, which is also available in Middle East range, FUS, or yeah, in general. Yes, so now I would say we have answered all the, or not all, most of the questions. If I did not answer, I will come back to it later, as the question is either not clear or we just run out of time simply now. So I would please ask you all to go to the polls section. So in the beginning of the presentation, my colleague has explained that there's also a poll section, and please go there and answer the polls and give us some feedback also what you like about the webinar, what you did not like. So it's basically here. When you go on your screen, you can answer the polls. And yeah, then I want to thank all of you for your attention. It was a very nice to have you here, and also a lot of very nice questions came. It really shows that you guys were interested, and yeah, it was also fun for me to answer your questions and to see that there's interest. So with this, I would mute myself. I wish you all a nice day and a nice evening. And in this time, of course, stay healthy, you and your families, and stay happy all the time. Have a nice day. Bye.